A sacred duty at Arlington Cemetery. When a thug challenges the silent guardian of fallen heroes, one disciplined punch shatters more than teeth. It delivers a powerful lesson in respect that will echo across the nation. Arlington National Cemetery stretches across rolling Virginia hills, a solemn field of white marble headstones standing in perfect formation like the soldiers they honor. Each stone tells a story of courage, sacrifice, and lives given in service to a grateful nation. On this crisp autumn afternoon, golden sunlight filters through red and orange leaves, casting dappled shadows across the sacred ground where America's heroes rest. At the cemetery's heart stands the tomb of the unknown soldier, a monument of pristine white marble. Its inscription reads simply, "Here rests in honored glory an American soldier known but to God." This hallowed shrine honors those who made the ultimate sacrifice but whose remains returned unidentified, nameless heroes who will never be forgotten. The air around the tomb carries a weight of reverence. Visitors speak in hushed tones, if they speak at all. Many stand silently, heads bowed, contemplating the cost of freedom. American flags flutter gently in the breeze, their stars and stripes a vibrant contrast against the cemetery's monochrome palette. Here, time seems to slow. The bustling capital city just across the Potomac feels worlds away. At Arlington, history and sacrifice are palpable in every breath of autumn air. The most distinctive sound is the measured click of heels on stone. The tomb guards, members of the elite 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. They maintain around-the-clock vigil, regardless of weather or national emergency. Their watch has continued uninterrupted since 1937, through hurricanes, blizzards, and even the attacks of September 11th. The Sentinel's Creed, memorized by every guard, captures their sacred duty. My dedication to this sacred duty is total and wholehearted. In the responsibility bestowed on me, never will I falter. And with dignity and perseverance, my standard will remain perfection. The changing of the guard ceremony draws visitors from around the world. They watch in awed silence as the relief commander inspects the oncoming sentinel's weapon with white-gloved precision, checking every surface of the M14 rifle before the changing ritual concludes. But between these ceremonies, when the crowds thin, the guards continue their eternal vigilance. 21 steps south, a 21-second pause facing the tomb, 21 steps north, another pause. The number 21 symbolizes the highest military honor, the 21-gun salute. In rain or shine, day or night, the sentinel's duty never ends. Master Sergeant James "Hawk" Wilson stands at attention, his weathered face a map of a life dedicated to service. At 65, he's significantly older than most tomb guards, but his posture remains impeccable, back straight, shoulders square, chin level. His eyes, steel blue and alert, stare forward with unwavering focus. Though retirement age for most, James volunteered to return as a special guardian after a distinguished 40-year military career. The creases around his eyes tell stories of Afghan deserts and Iraqi cities, of brothers lost and battles won. His hands, now perfectly steady on his ceremonial rifle, once stemmed bleeding wounds and carried fallen comrades. A thin scar traces his left cheekbone, a reminder of a Kandahar firefight where he earned his Silver Star. James's uniform is immaculate, every pleat razor-sharp, every brass button gleaming. His white gloves are spotless, his shoes polished to mirror perfection. The Tomb Guard identification badge, one of the rarest military badges, gleams on his chest. Fewer than 700 have been awarded since its creation in 1958. For 5 years now, James has volunteered for this duty. While younger guards serve their rotations and move on, he remains, driven by a promise made decades ago to his closest friend, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Hayes. They'd survived 3 tours together until an ambush outside Kandahar claimed Robert's life in James's arms. His final words, "Don't let them forget us," became James's mission. Among today's visitors stands Harold Thompson, a 75-year-old Vietnam veteran. His weathered hands grip a polished wooden cane, his campaign hat adorned with unit pins and ribbons. Despite his hunched posture and arthritic knees, he's made the journey to Arlington every year since returning from Southeast Asia in 1971. His eyes follow James's methodical movements with understanding that only another soldier could possess. "That's dedication," Harold whispers to himself, clutching a faded photograph of his old platoon. 50 years later, and I still remember every face. Nearby, a group of college students watches the ceremony. Sarah Miller, a 21-year-old history major with thoughtful brown eyes and a notebook filled with observations, nudges her friends. "Guys, put your phones down for a minute. This place is sacred." Her friend Jason, a lanky computer science major more comfortable with code than ceremony, shrugs but lowers his phone. "It's just a guy walking back and forth." "It's more than that," Sarah insists, her voice hushed but passionate. "Each step honors someone who died for us." Their friend Megan, scrolling through Instagram, barely looks up. "We've been here for like an hour already." Sarah shakes her head, disappointed but determined to absorb the significance of this place, even if her friends cannot. The reverent atmosphere shatters as Vincent Russo pushes through the crowd. At 35, Vince is an imposing figure, 6'3" of muscle and menace. A dragon tattoo snakes down his right arm, disappearing beneath a tight black t-shirt that strains against his chest. A brass knuckle ring glints in his pocket, clinking with each confident stride. Once a promising boxer, Vince's career ended after repeated violations, hitting after the bell, using illegal tactics, testing positive for banned substances. Now he scrapes by on bar fights and intimidation jobs for local bookies. His face bears the marks of his profession, a twice-broken nose, a scar splitting his right eyebrow, ears slightly cauliflowered from years in the ring. But it's his eyes that tell the real story, cold, calculating, always looking for weakness to exploit. Last night, over cheap whiskey at a dive bar near his apartment, Vince's buddies had dared him. "Those tomb guards are just for show," one had said. "Bet you can't make one break character." Vince had slammed his glass down, spilling amber liquid across the scarred bar top. "Watch me." The ritual of the tomb guard is precise, almost mechanical in its perfection. James executes each movement with meticulous attention to detail, a living embodiment of military precision. 21 steps south along the black mat, a crisp turn to face the tomb for 21 seconds, 21 steps north, another turn and 21 seconds facing down the mat. The pattern repeats without variation, without compromise. Every motion follows exacting standards developed over decades. The rifle rests precisely on James's right shoulder, at a perfect 90-degree angle to his body. His free arm swings exactly 6 inches from the seam of his trousers. When he turns, it's a fluid motion, head, shoulders, and feet moving in perfect harmony, like a machine calibrated to perfection. But behind this mechanical precision beats a very human heart. With each step, memories surface in James's mind, though his face betrays nothing. The weight of his rifle reminds him of patrols through mountain passes in Afghanistan. The click of his heels echoes firefights long past. The silence surrounding the tomb recalls moments of grief when words failed and only silence remained appropriate. 21 steps south. James remembers Robert's laugh during their first deployment, the way he could ease tension with a well-timed joke. Turn. Face the tomb. He sees Robert's face, serious in planning sessions, mapping out routes through hostile territory. 21 seconds. He recalls the letters Robert wrote to his wife and daughter, which James had to deliver after the ambush. 21 steps north. The memory of carrying Robert's body through dusty streets, refusing to leave him behind even as bullets whizzed overhead. Turn. Face down the mat. The funeral at Arlington, Robert's widow clutching a folded flag, their daughter not understanding why Daddy wouldn't wake up. 21 seconds. The promise made graveside, I won't let them forget. For James, each cycle of the guard ritual is both a meditation and a prayer, a physical manifestation of remembrance. The discipline required, standing for hours regardless of weather, maintaining perfect composure despite distractions, mirrors the discipline that kept him alive through 4 decades of military service. The uniform he wears carries its own psychological weight. Every morning, James spends hours preparing it, pressing each pleat, shining each button, ensuring not a single thread is out of place. The ritual preparation centers him, focuses his mind on the duty ahead. The uniform isn't just cloth and metal, it's a symbol of the unbroken line of guardians stretching back to 1937. Today, a light autumn rain begins to fall, droplets beating on James's cap and shoulders. He doesn't flinch, doesn't adjust his pace. In summer heat that can reach 110 degrees on the plaza or winter cold that numbs fingers and toes, the guard continues. Weather is merely another test of resolve. Visitors often wonder how the guards maintain such focus. For James, the answer lies in compartmentalization, a skill honed in combat zones. External distractions, weather, noise, fatigue, pain, are acknowledged then filed away. His world narrows to the mat beneath his feet, the weight of his rifle, the timing of each step. But deeper than technique is purpose. Every unknown soldier represented by the tomb could have been Robert. Could have been any of the men and women James served with over decades. In guarding their memorial, he guards their memory. A small smile touched Robert's lips the last time James saw him alive. "We did good, didn't we, Hawk?" he had asked, blood seeping through field bandages. James had gripped his hand. "The best, brother. The absolute best." Now, with each perfect step, James answers that question again. Yes, they did good. And he continues to do good, honoring a promise that transcends death. Vincent Russo pushes through the crowd, his movements deliberate and aggressive. People instinctively step aside, sensing the volatile energy radiating from him. He positions himself at the front of the spectators, directly beside the chain barrier separating visitors from the ceremonial plaza. "Check out this robot." Vince's voice booms across the sacred ground, shattering the reverential silence. He points at James mid-march. Walking like he's got a stick up his ass. The crowd shifts uncomfortably. A mother pulls her young son closer. An elderly couple exchanges disapproving glances. The disrespect is so jarring, so out of place in these surroundings, that for a moment no one responds. Sarah frowns, her hand tightening around her phone. "Show some respect," she calls out, her voice stronger than she expected. Vince turns toward her, eyes narrowing. "Respect for what? This clown playing dress-up?" His laugh grates like metal on stone. "It's all for show. Tax dollars paying for this toy soldier to march back and forth." Harold grips his cane tighter, knuckles whitening. "That punk has no idea what he's messing with," he mutters to a fellow veteran standing nearby. James continues his precise movements, eyes fixed forward, face impassive. The training of tomb guards is legendary. They're taught to ignore distractions, to maintain composure under any circumstances. During their training period, they're forbidden to smile, laugh, or break character in any way. Those who fail are immediately removed from training. But beneath the disciplined exterior, James registers everything. Vince's voice, his posture, his position relative to the tomb, all processed and categorized as potential threats. For decades of combat experience doesn't disappear with retirement. James's senses remain razor-sharp, his mind calculating scenarios and responses even as he maintains the ritual. Vince, annoyed by being ignored, steps closer to the black chain barrier surrounding the tomb. "Hey, toy soldier. You deaf or just stupid?" He makes a mocking salute, eliciting nervous laughter from a few teenagers at the back of the crowd. James marches forward, passing within inches of Vince without acknowledging him. The crowd holds its collective breath. This close, the contrast between the two men is striking, James's disciplined poise against Vince's aggressive swagger, order versus chaos, respect versus contempt. Vince's face reddens. He's used to people cowering before his size and aggression. This guard, this nobody in a fancy uniform, acts like he doesn't exist. Nothing triggers Vince's rage faster than being ignored. "You think you're tough?" Vince leans in, his breath reeking of stale alcohol. I could snap you like a twig, old man." James's expression doesn't change, but a muscle in his jaw twitches almost imperceptibly. Another memory surfaces, a firefight in Fallujah, bullets whizzing past, Robert shouting, "Hawk, get down." He blinks it away, his grip on his rifle steady. The crowd murmurs nervously. Some back away while others pull out phones to record what's happening. A young father hurriedly leads his children toward the exit. An older woman whispers to her husband, "Someone should call security." Sarah shakes her head. This is so wrong. She looks around for cemetery staff or security, but sees none nearby. Vince, sensing the attention, plays to his audience. "Watch this, folks." He tosses an empty soda can toward the tomb. It clatters on the marble, rolling to a stop near the center of the sacred monument. Gasps ripple through the crowd. A woman covers her mouth in shock. A veteran removes his hat in dismay. The desecration of the tomb is more than disrespect, it's sacrilege to those who understand what the monument represents. Harold steps forward, his voice sharp despite his age. "Son, you're standing on sacred ground. Back off before you regret it." Vince turns, sizing up the elderly veteran. "Shut it, old man," he sneers. "You want some too?" Harold doesn't flinch. His eyes, which have seen the horrors of Vietnam, stare steadily back. "I've dealt with bullies from the Mekong Delta to Khe Sanh. You don't scare me, boy." Sarah jumps in, her voice trembling but determined. "Just leave him alone. This isn't a game. People died for what this place represents." Vince steps toward her, towering over her smaller frame. "Nobody asked you, sweetheart." He shoves her shoulder, not hard, but enough to make her stumble backward. Her friends catch her, glaring at Vince. "Yo, chill, man," Jason says, finding courage despite his fear. "There are kids around." Vince ignores them, turning back to James, who has completed another cycle and is marching back toward him. "You hear that, soldier boy? Your fan club's crying for you." He pulls the brass knuckle ring from his pocket, sliding it onto his right fist. It gleams in the fading sunlight, heavy and cruel. "Time to teach you a lesson about the real world." A mother shields her child's eyes. A man in a business suit frantically dials on his phone. The atmosphere has transformed from reverent to tense, the sacred space now a stage for confrontation. James continues his march, steps unbroken, but his senses sharpen. He's been here before, not at Arlington, but in darker places. A cobble street. A knife flashing. A split-second choice between life and death. His training, both as a tomb guard and as a special forces operator, has prepared him for this moment. The crowd around the tomb has transformed from respectful visitors to unwilling spectators in a brewing confrontation. Their reactions splinter in different directions, fear, outrage, morbid fascination, and helplessness creating a volatile emotional mixture. Near the back, a group of schoolchildren on a field trip watch wide-eyed as their teachers attempt to usher them away. "Come on, kids, let's go see the Kennedy Memorial," one teacher says, her voice artificially bright, trying to mask her concern. "But Miss Johnson, that man is being mean to the soldier," a young girl protests, pointing at Vince. "That's why we're leaving, sweetie," the teacher responds, gently guiding the children toward the path. "Some people don't understand what it means to respect our heroes." Closer to the front, reactions are more direct. A middle-aged man in a Marine Corps veteran cap shakes his head in disgust. "20 years ago, I'd have laid that punk out myself," he mutters to his wife, who squeezes his arm in silent agreement. An elderly woman clutches her handbag tightly, knuckles white with tension. "I lost my brother at Normandy," she tells no one in particular, her voice quavering. "He never came home to be buried. That tomb is all families like mine have." The college students who arrived with Sarah form a protective semicircle around her after Vince's shove. Megan, suddenly alert and engaged, puts her arm around Sarah's shoulders. "Are you okay?" she asks, glaring at Vince's back. "I'm fine," Sarah answers, though her voice trembles slightly. "But someone needs to stop him." Jason, the lanky computer science major, looks around desperately. "Where's security? Shouldn't there be guards or something?" "The guard is right there," Megan points out, nodding toward James. "But he can't break protocol, can he?" Sarah watches James continue his measured pace, his face impassive despite the chaos unfolding around him. "I don't think he will," she says, "but maybe he should." Harold Thompson stands his ground, leaning heavily on his cane. The Vietnam veteran's eyes never leave Vince, tracking him with the vigilance of a man who once watched jungle treelines for enemy movement. Beside him, two other veterans, one wearing a Desert Storm cap, another with a 101st Airborne pin, move closer, a silent phalanx of old warriors. "You served?" the Desert Storm veteran asks Harold quietly. "2 tours, 68 and 69. You?" "Gulf War." "Not the same, but I get it." "We all get it," says the third man. "That's why we can't let this stand." The crowd's murmurs grow louder. Someone yells, "Where's security?" Another voice calls out, "Somebody do something." A woman frantically waves toward the visitor center, trying to catch the attention of staff. Phones rise throughout the crowd, recording the confrontation. In the age of social media, the scene is already being broadcast beyond Arlington's boundaries. Comments and reactions flow in real time as the video streams. The emotional temperature rises with each passing second. What began as discomfort has evolved into collective outrage. The sacred space of Arlington, normally a place of quiet reflection, now crackles with tension. Through it all, James maintains his ritual. 21 steps. Turn. 21 seconds. Turn. 21 steps. His face reveals nothing, but his awareness has heightened. Every sense is alert, cataloging movements, assessing threats, calculating distances. The Special Forces operator within him is fully awake now, running scenarios, identifying vulnerabilities, planning responses. Vince, emboldened by the attention and his own liquid courage, feeds off the crowd's energy. Each gasp, each look of horror, each phone raised to record him only fuels his performance. He's center stage now, the villain in a drama of his own creation, and he's determined to escalate until he gets the reaction he craves. The collision course is set. Two men, one bound by sacred duty, one bound by nothing, approach an inevitable confrontation that will echo far beyond this hallowed ground. The crowd grows louder. Someone yells, "Where's security?" Another whispers, "That guard's going to get hurt." A child begins to cry, sensing the tension even without understanding its source. Vince steps over the chain barrier, a line no respectful visitor would cross, planting himself directly in James's path. The act itself is a desecration, violating the sacred space between the public and the tomb. "All right, tough guy. Let's dance." Vince spreads his arms wide in challenge, the brass knuckles glinting on his right hand. "Show me what the mighty military teaches you." James reaches the end of his march, pauses, turns. For a split second, his eyes meet Vince's, not with fear, but with something colder, harder. A warning that goes unheeded. In that brief moment of eye contact, James communicates what words cannot, that some lines should never be crossed, that some places demand respect, that some provocations cannot go unanswered. It's the look of a man who has faced death in distant lands and returned unbroken. Vince doesn't see it. He's too busy grinning, his fist cocked back like a loaded gun. To him, this is just another bar fight, another chance to prove his dominance. He doesn't understand the ground he stands on or the man he faces. The crowd goes silent. Every eye locks on the two men. The only sound is the soft autumn breeze rustling through nearby trees and the distant call of a crow. Sarah clutches her friend's arm. "Oh my God, he's going to hit him." Harold leans forward, his voice low but carrying in the sudden silence. "Kids about to learn the hard way. Time slows." Vince swings, the brass knuckles slicing through the air, aimed straight for James's jaw. It's a wild, sloppy punch, all power and no skill, telegraphed by his shifting weight and dropping shoulder. To an untrained eye, it looks brutal, unstoppable. But James isn't just a ceremonial figure. He's a special forces veteran with decades of combat experience. His body reacts before conscious thought, muscle memory from thousands of training hours taking over. In a blink, he sidesteps, his body flowing like water. The punch misses, grazing the air where his face was a heartbeat ago. The momentum carries Vince forward, off balance, his eyes widening in surprise as he hits nothing but air. Before Vince can recover, James moves. His ceremonial rifle shifts to his left hand in one fluid motion. His right fist snaps out, a blur of precision striking Vince's jaw at the perfect angle. The crack echoes across the plaza like a rifle shot. The impact is devastating in its efficiency. James hasn't moved his feet, hasn't shifted his stance. Just one perfectly placed strike, delivered with the accumulated force of decades of discipline. Teeth fly from Vince's mouth, glinting in the afternoon sun as they scatter across the stone plaza. Blood sprays in an arc, droplets landing on the white marble. The brass knuckles, now useless, slip from Vince's fingers and clatter against the stone. Vince collapses, a heap of muscle and deflated ego. His hands claw at his mouth as he screams, a garbled, wet sound, blood bubbling between his fingers. The man who entered Arlington full of swagger now writhes on sacred ground, reduced to primitive sounds of pain. The crowd erupts, gasps turning to cheers, shock transforming into vindication. A veteran pumps his fist. A teacher applauds. A child asks, "Mommy, did the bad man lose?" Sarah's jaw drops. "Did you see that?" Her friend Jason nods, stunned. "That was... I don't even have words." Megan, who had been so disinterested earlier, stares in amazement. One punch. Just one punch. Harold chuckles, a dry, satisfied sound. "Told you the boy picked the wrong fight." He turns to his fellow veterans, nodding in shared understanding. "Special forces, if I had to guess. You don't move like that without serious training." James, unfazed, steps back into position, resuming his march. 21 steps. Pause. Turn. His uniform remains pristine, his face unreadable, but a faint trickle of sweat beads on his temple, the only visible sign of the confrontation. Inside, his heart pounds, not from fear, but from the weight of what he's just done. In all his years as a tomb guard, he's never broken protocol. But some disrespects cannot go unanswered. Some sacred trusts must be defended. The rifle returns to its precise position on his shoulder. His face resumes its stoic expression. To all appearances, the incident is already behind him, the duty continuing uninterrupted. Vince writhes on the ground, spitting blood and tooth fragments. His eyes, wide with shock, dart from the crowd to James. "My teeth. You broke my damn teeth." The words come out garbled, almost unintelligible through the blood and broken dental work. James doesn't respond. His rifle rests on his shoulder, his step steady as ever. The contrast could not be more stark. Vince's animal howls against James's disciplined silence, chaos against order, disrespect against duty. In that moment, everyone watching understands something profound about respect, about consequences, about the quiet strength that upholds civilization itself. Without a word being spoken, a powerful lesson has been delivered, one that will echo far beyond this autumn afternoon. The crowd's cheers grow louder, a wave of awe and respect washing over the sacred ground. A woman in the back yells, "That's what you get." A veteran with a silver star pinned to his jacket nods approvingly. "Damn fine work, son." Sarah's filming now, her hands slightly shaky but her focus unwavering. "This needs to go viral." People need to see this, she tells her friends. Not because it's violence, but because it's justice. Jason, still wide-eyed, nods. That was like, movie-level stuff. But real. Megan, who had been so disconnected earlier, now can't look away. Did you see how he just went right back to his duty? Like nothing happened. 2 Arlington security guards push through the crowd, radios crackling. They've clearly been alerted to the disturbance, though they arrived too late to prevent it. The first guard, a stocky man with a military bearing of his own, takes in the scene quickly, Vince on the ground, blood on the marble, the crowd's unusual energy. "Sir, stay down," he orders, kneeling beside Vince. His tone is professional but firm, brooking no argument. The second guard, younger but equally alert, picks up the brass knuckle ring with a gloved hand, shaking his head. "You're in deep trouble, pal. Assault with a weapon on federal property, desecration of a national monument." He whistles low. "That's federal time, not county." They cuff Vince, who's still groaning, his bravado replaced by pain and humiliation. As they haul him to his feet, he staggers, blood dripping onto his shirt and the white stone beneath. The bright red droplets on the pristine marble create a jarring visual, the consequence of disrespect made visible. The crowd parts as the guards lead Vince away. Some visitors jeer, others watch in silent satisfaction. A few children point and ask questions, their parents explaining in hushed tones about respect and consequences. Through it all, James continues his ritual, his rhythm unbroken, a living monument to duty. 21 steps. Pause. Turn. 21 steps back. His eyes remain fixed ahead, giving no indication that anything unusual has occurred. Harold watches, his face soft with pride. "That's a real soldier," he says to no one in particular. Then, to the veterans beside him, "You know who that is, don't you?" The Desert Storm veteran shakes his head. "Should I?" Harold nods slowly. "That's Master Sergeant James Wilson. They called him Hawk in Special Forces. My son served under him in Afghanistan, said he was the finest soldier he ever met." The Desert Storm veteran's eyes widen with recognition. "Wait, James Hawk Wilson. The one who led that extraction mission in Kandahar. When they were surrounded for 3 days." Harold nods, a knowing smile crossing his weathered face. "The very same. Brought back 17 men when HQ had given them up for lost. Got shot twice doing it, from what I heard, and still carried one of his wounded for the last mile." "I'll be damned," whispers the third veteran, removing his cap in a gesture of respect. "And now he's here, guarding the unknowns." "Full circle," Harold says softly. "From guarding his men in combat to guarding those who never made it home." The guards lead Vince away, his head bowed, his swagger shattered. The once intimidating figure now looks small, diminished by pain and the weight of his actions. As they reach the pathway leading to the security office, Vince glances back over his shoulder at James, a look of confusion mingled with a dawning respect. Sarah lowers her phone, turning to her friends. "I'm posting this, but not for clout. People need to know what this place means." Her friend Jason nods. "Yeah, and what happens when you mess with the wrong guy?" Megan, scrolling through her phone, looks up suddenly. "Guys, I just Googled him. That guard, he's kind of famous in military circles. Multiple combat tours, Silver Star, Bronze Star with Valor Device, Purple Heart with 2 oak leaf clusters, he's the real deal." They glance at James, now at the far end of his march, his silhouette sharp against the setting sun. The revelation adds another layer to what they've witnessed, not just a ceremonial guard defending his post, but a decorated warrior upholding values he's lived by throughout a lifetime of service. As the commotion fades, Harold limps toward the tomb, pausing near the barrier. He pulls a single white rose from his jacket, placing it gently on the marble. "For you boys," he whispers, his eyes misty with memories of friends lost decades ago but never forgotten. Then he looks at James, still marching, and adds, "And thank you, Hawk." The cleanup crew arrives quietly, respectfully removing the blood from the sacred marble. They work efficiently, erasing the physical evidence of the confrontation, but the memory of what transpired will remain with everyone who witnessed it. Sarah and her friends linger, talking quietly among the dispersing crowd. "I didn't get it before," Sarah admits, gesturing toward the tomb and the endless rows of headstones beyond. "This place, what it means. But now I do." Her friend Jason, usually the joker of the group, nods solemnly. "That guard, he's the real deal. Not just the uniform or the ceremony. Something deeper." "It's about respect," Megan adds, surprising her friends with her insight. "Not just saying it, but living it. Being willing to defend it." They walk away slowly, Sarah already drafting a post in her head, words about honor, sacrifice, and a lesson written in blood and broken teeth. The video she captured will soon join countless others online, but hers will carry a message beyond the spectacle of violence, a reminder of what places like Arlington represent, and why they must be honored. James's shift nears its end, but his focus never wavers. 21 steps. Pause. Turn. The sun dips low, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, casting long shadows across Arlington's hallowed ground. A new guard approaches, ready to take over, but James's concentration remains absolute. The changing of the guard proceeds with its customary precision, the inspection of the rifle, the ceremonial handover, the continuation of the eternal watch. To casual observers, it seems no different from any other day's ritual. But word has spread throughout the cemetery and beyond. The crowd for this changing ceremony is larger than usual, visitors pressing forward for a glimpse of the guard who defended the tomb's honor. They watch in respectful silence as James completes his final march and relinquishes his post. He's not just guarding a tomb, he's guarding a legacy, a promise to those who gave everything, including their identities. In that moment when duty required action, he honored that promise in the most direct way possible. The crowd has mostly dispersed now, save for a few stragglers, but their whispers carry on the evening breeze. "Did you see that punch? Guy's a legend. One hit, that's all it took. Showed him what respect means." James hears none of it. His world has been the rhythm of his steps, the weight of his rifle, the memory of Robert and countless others who never made it home. As he marches away from the tomb for the final time today, his military bearing remains perfect, but his mind begins to process the day's events. In a holding cell miles away, Vince sits on a metal bench, his face swollen, his mouth a ruin. The officers discuss charges: assault, trespassing, desecration of a national monument, possession of an illegal weapon. His buddies, the ones who dared him, are nowhere to be found. He stares at the blood on his hands, the pain throbbing with every heartbeat. For the first time in years, Vince feels small, not because of the handcuffs, but because of the man who broke him. Not with anger, not with show, but with a single, perfect strike. "Didn't know," Vince mutters through broken teeth. "Didn't know he was like that." The officer processing his paperwork snorts. "Should have thought twice before picking a fight with a tomb guard. Those guys aren't just for show." Back at Arlington, the cemetery grows quiet as the last visitors fade into the dusk. James completes his post-duty procedures, storing his rifle and changing out of his ceremonial uniform with the same precision he brings to every task. He passes Harold, who's lingered by the tomb. The old veteran meets his eyes, offering a slow, respectful nod. "You did good, son. Real good." James pauses, his voice low. "Just doing my job, sir." Harold smiles. "More than that. You showed him what it means to stand tall." James walks toward the guard quarters, the weight of the day settling in. He thinks of Robert, wondering if his friend would approve of how he handled the situation. A faint smile tugs at his lips. "Yeah, you would." He glances back at the tomb, its marble glowing under the first stars. This is why he's here, not for fights, not for glory, but for them. The unknowns. The fallen. The ones who gave it all. And today, he defended their honor, not with words, but with a fist that spoke louder than any speech. The story spreads as stories do in the digital age. Sarah's video hits the internet, racking up millions of views within hours. Comments flood in, "That guard's a hero. Dude got what he deserved. This is what respect looks like." News outlets pick it up, calling it a lesson in respect at Arlington. Military blogs identify James, recounting his decorated service record. At schools across the country, teachers use the video as a starting point for discussions about respect, duty, and sacred spaces. At VFW halls and American Legion posts, veterans raise glasses to James Wilson, even if they don't know him personally. And at Arlington, the tomb stands as it always has, silent, eternal, guarded by men and women who understand that some duties transcend ordinary obligations, who carry the weight of a nation's gratitude and grief with every measured step. This is the story of a soldier in a showdown, silence disrupted and dignity defended. Of a single punch thrown not in anger, but in honor. So the next time you're at Arlington, watching those precise steps, remember this: the tomb guard isn't just a symbol. He's a warrior, forged in fire, bound by duty. Share this story not for the drama, but for the message, that courage isn't always loud, and sometimes respect is enforced by those who've truly earned it. And if you're ever at the tomb of the unknown soldier, count the steps and know that behind every silent march is a voice that says, "This matters." Comment below with your thoughts on respect for our veterans and their sacred duty. Have you ever visited Arlington National Cemetery? What was your experience? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to share this story with someone who needs to understand what true respect means.